Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Beauty for the Soul, because experiencing beauty is not just a luxury anymore, but it's a necessity. Today I have Jenny Schiltz here to explain her unique gifts as a bridger between the dimensions. She has discovered that she is able to hear and see those in other dimensions, creating a bridge for information to flow. She channels some of the ascended masters, delivering messages for humanity during this exciting time. She uses this ability to help others get in touch with their spirit guides, who offer support and guidance for their journey. She also holds one-on-one Ascension guidance classes that help people access their guides in the realms beyond by helping them clear the layers and the beliefs that hold them back. I'm so thrilled to have Jenny as my guest today. Hello, Jenny.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, a little bit giggly. We have some giggles in our connection here, so I'm
right.
adding some brightness and aliveness to everyone. So Jenny, it feels like you're an old soul, and I feel like I've known you before. Isn't that cool?
It is. It's amazing the connections we create with people.
Yes, and I'd love to know a little bit more about you. Why don't you share a little bit with our listeners?
Well, when I was a child, I could see fairies. I was able to see tree spirits, and I remember, seeing this beautiful being, and I realize now it was my higher self. At the time, I didn't have a clue, and it was this really wonderful world that I shared with my grandfather. When I spent summers with him, he would take me to the forest edge, and which I understand now is basically a portal. And I would go forward, and I would see all of these different beings, and I felt at home. And he always has said, you need to be really careful who you tell this to. Don't tell anyone. People don't understand. And he had spent his entire life kind of denying who he was. And when I was 8, he passed of cirrhosis of the liver. So he became an alcoholic. And I think partly because he was never truly true to who he was. He was always hiding this aspect of himself. So at 8, I was lost.
Wow.
Just completely lost. The one person who got me, who understood me, was gone. So I attempted to, tell my parents, and it didn't go over well. And I totally understand where they were coming from, because all of a sudden they had a child who was saying, I can hear things and see things you can't. And so the fear was that there was something wrong with me, that I was mentally ill. So my mother was terrified. And I saw the pain and the terror in her eyes. And I just knew, I just shut it all down. And I shut it down very, very hard. So then, as I went through my life, I actually thought that maybe I had made it all up. Because when I went back to my grandfather's place, and I would go into the forest, and I was searching and searching, like, where is this place? I didn't see it anymore. It didn't seem to really exist. And what I understand now is that, before it was a portal, and I had believed. Whereas when I went back later, I went back as someone who really wasn't so sure, and had lost much of that higher vibration living. Wow. So I spent my life, and I was always very curious about psychics and the different things out there, the tarot cards, things like that. I was always just very, very curious. But never once did I ever think I could do this. It just never really ever crossed my mind. I didn't believe that I had that ability, and I had squashed so much within myself. And so throughout all these years, I family and life, and I just always found myself in the midst of depression. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I had chronic pain. I was really and truthfully a mess. I was never honoring who I truly was as a human being. And so in doing that, the universe was sending me 1,001 signs that something was wrong. Signs that many of us receive. The chronic pain, the chronic fatigue. These are signs that something is wrong, that something is out of alignment with our spirit. But in this medical world that we live in, that's not how it's seen. It's seen as a medical ailment, not one that has to do with our spirit and honoring of ourself. So, to make a long story short, in 2012, I really experienced a rather large awakening. Things just started changing for me. I'd always been, a little spiritual and things like that, but this was different. And the catalyst, interestingly enough, my oldest daughter went to go get a tattoo. And she wanted me to go with her. And so I went with her, and we walked into the shop, and the tattoo artist says, "I've been waiting for you." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not the one getting the tattoo." And he said, "Oh, I know." He said, "But I got a message that you were coming today." And I was bowled away. I'm looking at them like, okay. And, he started asking me questions. And, he said, "Have you had experiences? Have you heard things?" Asking me all these questions. And I kept denying it. I'm like, I can see how my kids might have abilities because they're all very intuitive. But me, no. And so I mentioned to him that my cat was not coming into the home anymore. And we had recently moved. And he said, my mom and I, we can come out and do a house blessing for you because there's probably something going on that's upsetting the cat. So a week later, this gentleman and his mom come out and they explained to me that where I was living was on Indian picnic grounds. Oh. And so there was a group of Indians running around who were picking on my cat. So he refused to come in. And winter was coming, so I was really glad that we were getting this resolved. So, she says, the woman says to my little one, who was 3 at the time, says to her, "Are there Indians in this house that bother you?" And my little one says, "Yeah, and they make mean faces." So that was like a big shock. Like, whoa, not only is she seeing, she's experiencing things that I'm not, I don't have access to. So we did a house blessing, and she communicated with the Indians, and she said to me, she said, "Things will calm down." She said, "I explained to them that you all, your family, you are the type of people that were prophesized about." And I didn't fully understand it. And so she said, "Look up the rainbow people." She said there was many tribes that believed that there was a group of people who would come in to Earth and to help change things. So I was like, okay, and I'm taking notes. And so she goes to leave, and she looks at me, and she says, "By the way, the fairies were real. And your grandfather showed you everything. And you need to go back and you need to reconnect." And me being literal, I said, "Well, I can't go back to North Carolina right now." And she said, "No, you don't need to. You just need to go in your mind." So she left, and as you can imagine, I was shell-shocked. Everything changed. It brought me back to being that child who wasn't believed. And so I had to rewrite everything and realize, wait a minute, if I could do it then there's so much more to this world. That means fairies exist. That means there's all these different things. And so it really, really opened up a door. Then in about a year later, we moved, and I was in a different house, and that house had a lot of activity, and I could kind of feel it, but I wasn't seeing, I wasn't hearing, and I was still going through others. to get information. I didn't trust anything. Even if it was an intuition I got, I just didn't trust it because frankly, I didn't trust myself.
Right.
So then one day it was like, all of a sudden, I see my grandfather. And he's got these steely blue eyes. And he's looking at me. And I'm like, holy cow, like totally shocked. And all of a sudden he just goes and he sits in my living room chair. And I'm looking at him. And he leans forward and he goes, "You're wasting your gifts." He said, "It's time for you to walk through that door." He said, "You have to open them back up." And I knew immediately that if I walked through that door, that everything would change. So there was a lot of fear laced around opening that door. I literally cried all day. I kid you not, I cried all day. I was hysterical. My husband comes home after the long day of work and he sees my eyes and he's looking at me and he's going, "What happened? What is wrong?" And I explained to him everything that happened and I said, you don't get it. If I walk through that door, everything will change. And here's this man, and he looks at me and he says, "Are you still going to be married to me?" I said, "Yeah." "Are you still going to love me?" "Yeah." And he goes, "Then what's the problem?"
Smart man.
Smart man. And so from that point on, I worked on taking down those blocks. And in the beginning, what I saw was earthbound spirits. And I would help some cross, and I would listen to their stories and try to get an understanding of how things work, which is, I think we only see such a small part. But it was fascinating. And then I moved on to fairies and some of the elementals, the pixies, and then I was able to communicate with certain animals, but animals that had passed. I wish I could communicate with my dog now, but I'm not able to. And then from there, I started actively communicating with my guides, and then I went eventually communicating with my absolute highest aspect. And it was her who introduced me to the Ascended Masters. And I had never heard of them prior to that time. So I started Googling, going, who are these people? And trying to understand what their connection was. And so once I understood and I realized, like, okay, and they asked me, we want you to deliver messages. And so I started a blog, and I started very slowly just, talking to certain ones and getting their messages and putting them out there. And I was, the entire time, every one that I would put out, I was terrified. Oh, people are going to think I'm crazy. People are not going to understand. Like, the backlash is going to be horrible. And I have to tell you, the response has been incredible. And through each step, it's allowed me to walk truer in my path. And it hasn't been an easy path. There's been times to where I feel knocked down with doubt and fear. But it's the fact that you go step by step, moment by moment, because we heal in layers. And so what I found is that there's absolute steps to empowerment and to really being who we are.
Wow. That's amazing. So what are some of those steps?
Well, for me, the biggest step was to be honest with myself. We live in a society that there's so many different beliefs that we subscribe to. Whether it's who I am as a woman, who I am as a mother, who I am as a wife. We have all these layers. And so I had to really look at my life and say, am I happy? What am I doing out of obligation and societal expectations? And what am I truly doing for me? And then I had to really look at my self-talk because, we talk about the ego. A lot of us have really nasty egos. That's this little voice that just shoots down every hope, every promise that we have, constantly talks you out of things. So I had to really look at that and go, wow, where was that created? And how can I stop it in its tracks? And then I had to find out about all my fears because I realized through the process, I had an absolute fear of success.
Yeah.
And so, people talk about the fear of failure, but that's not what scared me. Success is what scared me.
Huh.
Achieving something and sticking by it is what scared me. So I had to really be honest about that, because what does that then say about me and the areas that I need to grow in my life?
Well, what's your vision of success for you that frightens you? What are the parts of the success that frighten you?
It's getting much, much better, but I think for me it's been living up to my own expectations.
Yeah.
Nobody else really has these hard, difficult expectations for me. It's me. I put it on myself.
So it's the inner critic that's judging you, and so whenever you do something, the inner critic comes out, and so, but that's not necessarily success. That's your image of how you have to be in order to be successful. So, like, in other words, if you're not doing what you imagine to be the right thing, then you shouldn't be successful, because it has to look and be a certain way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I had to really look at my definitions and how I judge success. And now I judge success by if I have fear about something, my success is plowing through it.
Yeah.
Not letting it stop me in my tracks. That is my success.
Wow. How about in terms of pleasure? Do you see yourself as successful when you're enjoying what you're doing?
I do.
Because that's another point that, maybe people like myself included as a perfectionist, if we're having fun and we're not, and the judgments don't freeze us up and things are flowing like this conversation, then this is successful.
Absolutely. I mean, when I am in the flow and I am like shut down that critical part of my brain, I am happy as can be. I can't even describe it. So it's, for me, the more time I can spend in that place, I judge that as a success. So I no longer look at my success as in a degree I have, the job I hold, God forbid what I look like, or how my children are. Because I think even for me, I had layers that were attached to their success. Right. As if what they did in life was, directly relational to what I do in life. And it's not. So, I had to really work and be honest about all of that stuff. And then a big thing is I had to stop the blaming. I had to look at the whole victim mentality, and I had to stop not only blaming, others for things that had happened in circumstances, but the biggest thing for me is I had to quit blaming myself.
Right.
I had to quit, attacking parts where I saw failure. And I had to look at things like, okay, yeah, maybe that job didn't work out, or maybe that idea didn't work out. But, I learned so much. So I had to really change how I viewed everything in my life. And one of the hardest things that, that I still really work on all the time is putting myself first. Because this isn't selfish, it's mandatory. We have to do that. And I was actually talking to one of the Ascended Masters who I was struggling with, the whole abundance and this energy and wanting to do so many different things. And I was speaking with Lady Nada, and she explained to me the bucket theory. And the bucket is we're like this giant bucket of energy. And we have to keep our bucket full to overflowing.
Right. So
that we can do more and give more and be more. And what she said, that the biggest mistake that we make is we think, well, if I give, then I'll be able to, send it out and I can do more. But the truth is that if all you're giving empties your bucket, you can't do more.
Right. Right.
And I think that there's so many of us that we're just natural givers.
Right.
And what that can then create is kind of what, the whole doormat series, to where the next thing you know, you feel like you're being taken advantage of, and then that can lead to bitterness.
Well, wouldn't you say, Jenny, that even it's actually not fair to be just giving and not let other people give back, because it cuts off the cycle of
absolutely
and the receiving. For someone, when you give to someone and they actually receive you and they give back whatever it is, gratitude or something, or something else, I mean, doesn't that make you feel good?
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely. And and so when you find that the people that have taken advantage of you, the truth of the matter is they were your gifts. They were there to show you where you extended yourself beyond the boundaries of yourself, where you didn't set up limitations for yourself to say, you know what, I can do this, but I can't go past this.
right.
And so, we really have to look at, what are our definitions and beliefs that we're holding on to that limit our ability to put us first. How many of us hear some of society's expectations that we're supposed to be working all the time and doing this all the time or taking care of this person all the time. And it's what's expected, regardless of the personal toll.
Yeah, I mean, my sense of you is that you need to take a deep breath. And I was wondering if you would be interested. You did such a wonderful meditation with me. We only have 10 minutes left, but I don't know if it's time, or maybe we'll have you back on again. But you did a beautiful meditation, and I was wondering if you would have a chance to do that with our listeners.
Yeah, I've got one that's, it's a really good one because it helps to clear you and ground you and kind of open up stuff within. So we can absolutely do that right now if you want.
Yes, I think that would be great. I think others will enjoy a respite from their busy day.
All right. So what I'd like you to do now is close your eyes and then begin to deep breathe in a comfortable rhythm. Feel your breath coming in and expanding your abdomen. And it relaxing as you exhale. And with each deep breath, feel your body relaxing deeper and deeper. And all your worry, your tension, and stress floating away. And all the asking done in this meditation can be done silently in your mind. Now ask that all the layers of your body come into alignment with the highest vibration of Source. Your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and etheric layers. And feel them shift into resonance. And ask that all your chakras, your primary and your secondary, come into alignment with the highest vibration of Source energy. And ask that they align from where they begin at Source to where they end with you, creating a channel for energy to flow. And ask that all your chakras open and spin in unison. And ask that anything that you are holding in your chakras, your cells, your very DNA, that no longer serves you, be released now. And some may feel or see this density leaving through their chakras, and others do not. Just trust and know that all that no longer serves you is gently being released from your body. Now see a golden cord of light come from your open heart chakra and travel down through your body and instantly goes deep into the center of the earth to the heart of Gaia. And at the heart of Gaia is a beautiful rose quartz crystal. And attach your cord of gold to the heart of Gaia and say, I ground myself into the heart of Gaia now, becoming one with her and all of the earth. And some see it as their cord sinking into the crystal. Some see it as wrapping around. And it's okay whatever you see and feel. Just know that it is done. I see a cord of golden light coming from your heart chakra and going up and out of your crown and going to the heart of the galaxy where there is another beautiful rose quartz crystal. Anchor your cord into this crystal and say, I anchor myself into the heart of the galaxy now. And feel the vibrations and the frequency as you are now connected to all that is below you and all that is above. Now ask that angels surround you, showering you with warm golden light that rains down over your aura, helping it to clear, heal, and seal your aura. And feel the warmth as it completely covers you, soothing you and bringing your vibration back into balance. Now ask that a layer of white light surround your aura, shielding you from absorbing another's emotions. And ask that all that comes your way be stopped by the shield, where it is instantly turned to light and returned to source, helping all those around you to clear. And ask too that this shield help you to transmute all that you are clearing from your form, that all density you release is easily cleared and returned to source. And now ask that a ring of angels surround your aura, and ask that they help all those in need with whom you come in contact with, and ask that they feel the grace of unconditional love and that they are blessed and receive healing. And know that with these requests, your aura is now cleared and whole, and you are balanced and better able to handle all that comes your way. And deep breathe as you feel this shift taking place. And when you are ready, open your eyes.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm sitting on a chair, sitting up so straight now instead of slumping, and my whole body's like lifted so that I'm reaching to the universe with the golden cord of light, and then grounded so deeply into the earth. And it was very, 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 very helpful. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Well, I know my listeners, I hope you all enjoyed that meditation, and we're going to have Jenny's information on the podcast page. But if you're interested in getting real within yourself as a process that's difficult but absolutely worth it, connecting with your spirit guide can help you identify areas that need changing within, you should contact Jenny at channelingthemasters.wordpress.com and to schedule a reading. That will all be listed. And thank you so much, Jenny Schiltz, for the beautiful and lovely presence that you are.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it tremendously.
Me too. And until next time, everybody, have a beautiful day, week, month, moment. Sending you lots of love. Bye.